All right, fam. It's Comfort Beach and Beach once again, and in this episode, you're going to talk about transaction inquiry, or you can just say transaction status checking. So, with this transaction status checking, what it does is it checks the transaction status using a transaction ID of which we created in the last video. So, uh, with this transaction inquiry, why do we need it? So let's say you have pushed a payment, right? Yeah, and then we don't know if that person who that was this that pushment was sent to. We don't know if that person uh, entered a correct pin or invalid pin or insufficient balance, right? So what you have to do is before we make any database changes, or let me say before we update the database, we need to make sure that this payment is successful, right? Yeah, it's successful. Or maybe if it was failed, we get that status so that we don't give that user a product if it was failed. So we have some error codes there. When the transaction fails, it bring the status is TF. Yeah. So when it's successful, the status is TS. So our token is cheap. Let's get started once again. So what I'm going to do here in our collections, I'm going to create a new request. Scroll down, and then I click on add request, and then this request I'm going to call it. Sorry, it is not supposed to be a duplicate. Yeah, so I'm going to rename it. I'm going to rename it inquiry. Inquiry. I'm going to rename it inquiry. So what I need to do is I need to steal this link which is at first from this one. Let me copy only the first URL, and then I put it here. I put it here. Here the method is supposed to be get, not post, but it is supposed to be get. Yeah. So, and then we are going to be pushing this, and then we go back here, we add this parameter. So now we have made the full URL. So here where it's ID, this ID we need to replace it with our transaction ID. So our transaction ID, let's have a look at it. What was that? All right, so we'll send a new one. Yeah, no worries, we'll send a new one. So payments. So here, let me leave it the way it was. So what are the parameters? We check the parameters. So in the header, we need to add X country. We go back, we add it quickly, X country, and then it's ZM, and then we also add what's this? The last one, it has to be X currency, X currency, X currency. Me, I'm from Zambia, so I'll be using ZMW. And then the last thing, sorry, not the last thing, but on the type of authorization, we choose BR. And then what you have to do here is we generate that access token from the authorization which we created. So I'm going to send a request. I'm going to send a request here. All right, so here's my access token, Control C, and I paste it here. Yeah, so let me also paste it here. Let me also request like for a payment. So I need to make sure that I update this transaction. Maybe let me say B. Let me add B. So let me send a push. Yeah, even my phone has rang, so it has come on my phone. It's requesting for a pin, so it was successful. So what I'm going to get from here is I'm going to get this transaction ID. This transaction ID. Yeah, I'm going to get it, this transaction ID. And then here we go back, we come back to our inquiry, and then on this ID we are going to remove it and replace it with that ID. So we send the inquiry now. Let's check. We're checking the status. Yeah, so it's showing TIP, transaction in progress. So what I'm going to do here is uh I'm going to enter what's this? I'm going to enter a password. Yeah, I'm going to enter a password. It has prompted on my phone. Let me pause. All right, guys. So I'm back once again. So, sorry, the background can be a little bit of noisy. Yeah. So, I'm back once again. So, what I did here on my phone is I entered a wrong pin for this transaction with this ID. So, let me send it again now. Let's check the status. Yeah. So it's showing transaction has failed. Why? Because I entered a wrong pin. Ah, status. So if it's TF, TF stands for transaction failed. Message transaction has failed. Transaction has failed. So yeah, so that's so, and we are done for this collection. Yeah, so we are done for this story series. As you can see, transaction has failed because it did not go through. If it was successful, here we could have seen Airtel Money ID same as that sent to our hostess to our messages. So that's also the last thing is there. I want to show you why we chose Postman. So with Postman, it has many options of exporting our code to whatever programming language you would like. So let's start with payments push. Let's say you would like to export this in Python. So code, and then we click on, we go to our Python request. So we have Python HTTP request. So I click on it, and then the code is automatically generated in Python. Here it is. If I want this code to be in PHP, where is PHP? I go to PHP cow, yeah, and then here it is. And then if I run this code, it will be the same as this code you are running in Postman. So I think that's all for the collection series. And in the next series, we're going to start the disbursements, whereby if you'd like to send this money which is received, or maybe, or I can say this money after a customer pays, now you would like to transfer it to now to your personal account, or maybe to your client's account, whatever. Yeah, so we just have to know that it will be a transferring from your Airtel partner portal account to what's this, to a personal account, a normal mobile money account. So that's all for this tutorial series, guys. So do as usual, subscribe, and I'm going to leave my contact details, but with the number which I'll leave, make it, it's only for WhatsApp. Yeah, it's only for WhatsApp. No personal calls, as it is inactive when it comes to direct calls. If you want to call me, use WhatsApp. Thank you.